Meta has changed the ad game again. So if you're running your ad account like it's 2022, well, you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table. And it's because Meta over the last 2 years has gone all in on AI to improve how their ad systems work. And it's mainly three AI systems they've been working on. The first one is Gem. Think of it like a super brain who can read and understand many books, like thousands of books in seconds, find patterns and connections. Then we have Lattice. Lattice is like the giant library. Before, Meta used to have many little libraries depending on each topic. For each topic, they used to have one library. And now they have one single giant library that can understand everything and find insights across industries and fields. And number three, we have Andromeda. Think of it like your personal concierge. It's responsible for understanding everything that we like. For example, Andromeda doesn't only understand that we like shoes. It understands something like, for example, that we love wearing red flip-flops at the beach, right? Is it creepy? Maybe, but is it effective? Absolutely. So what can we do as media buyers, as advertisers, as growth marketers with this information? Why, Brian? Why, Brian? Why is it useful? Why are you telling this to me? First off, to operate in a certain way, we need to understand why. We need to buy. Like, why should we change our behaviors as advertisers? Well, the main reason is what I just told you. Meta is really smart. So we don't need to be getting on its way and get between Meta and the results, because we are not going to make things better. We are going to make things worse. So what's the bottom line? What does Meta need right now? Meta needs signals. Meta needs options, meaning that it needs 50, 100 ads when you launch a campaign, not 2 or 5. According to Meta and set by Meta, Meta will prioritize advertisers who give the algorithm more options. I'll say that again. Meta will prioritize advertisers who provide the algorithm with more options. So if you're feeding your campaign with one ad, well, probably someone who provide the algorithm with 100 ads is going to be you, right? So what do we need to know? How do we need to structure the campaign? Well, it's what we are going to discuss in a minute. But first, I wanted you to understand why we are working on this restructure. So now we know that Meta is really smart. Now we know that Meta wants us to give it the algorithm options. We need to know how we need to, or one of the ways, because there are many ways, of course, to structure the ad account for success and comply with that. So I've been watching a very interesting video by Taylor Holiday, the CEO of Common Thread Collective. It's an amazing agency. And he said something that stood out. What they used to do at their agency, and I'm going to tell you what we used to do at mine, is to have one campaign per offer, audience, or angle. So if they had offer 1, angle 1, and audience 1, it was one campaign. And if they had offer 1, audience 1, angle 2, it was another campaign, right? So we didn't do that at the agency, right? We have different levels of the funnels for different goals, different product, let's say, categories. So we structured the campaign based on that. But things have changed again. So first off, let's talk about the campaign types we should be using. In the past, we used to have like the conversions, the catalog, like conversion related campaigns, right? Now we have the advantage sales campaign, right? We can use the automated options or not, but we have the advantage sales campaign. So that's what we will use, advantage plus sales campaign type. Now, the bidding is not going to be lowest cost. And there's a reason for this. You can still do lowest cost. However, lowest cost is going to give you, if you think about it, a low AOV or lower than if you used something else. So for example, if you have 40, if you're aiming for a $40 CAC, right? Because you have, let's say, an $80 AOV and you 1 to 2x ROAS, then the algorithm probably is going to find the lowest cost opportunities, as closest to 40K to $40 as possible, right? That's what's going to happen. So with $40 CAC, it's very unlikely that you get a $200 or $300 order. However, if you change the bid by and replace the lowest cost with target ROAS, you can feed the algorithm to say, hey, I'm not interested in a certain CAC. I'm willing to pay more. However, this is my target ROAS. Now, there are some caveats because I didn't buy as immediately, and I've been testing it at the agency, and we are currently testing it as we speak as well. And it's working so far. Is the fact that you need to, one, give the campaign more budget for it to spend because otherwise it might not spend. Two, you need to find the sweet spot for the target ROAS because you might say, well, since we ask, I want a target ROAS of 50, 30, 10, 5, and maybe that's not doable for the algorithm. That's not doable for your brand, at least with the campaign and the assets that you provided the algorithm with or the offer. You need to A/B test the target ROAS to tweak it until you find the sweet spot for it to be a win for you and your brand, and then for it to spend, right? So for you and for the algorithm to be a win-win. That's one thing. Then the other thing we need to cover is that it's not only about the campaign type we are going to use, but it's when should we create another campaign and another one and so on. So what we're going to do from now on at the agency is to create one campaign per offer. Let's say one for t-shirts, one for hoodies, and so on. Of course, you don't need to have one campaign for every single product category or SKU. It could be for thinking about the 80-20 principle, for the 20% of product categories or offers that deliver 80% of results. In terms of audiences, we are going to keep the broad audiences. Let Meta figure it out who's buying, right? We shouldn't give Meta the audience. However, some advertisers find that giving the algorithm some signals or indicating some manual preference could help. But yeah, I don't know about that. I could trust, broad, because in the end, your input will be recommendations, but it won't be the only thing Meta will use. It will go broad regardless. Then we will need to talk about attribution. Some people are against the 1-day view element in the 7-day click plus 1-day view attribution setting, right? But now, since we understood so far during this episode that we need to provide Meta with more options, with more signals, there's a trade-off here. We might have more inflated results, but the algorithm gets way more signals to work with. Whereas if we remove that 1-day view, we'll say, oh, Meta attribution is not as inflated as before, but in today's era of Meta, it's not what the algorithm needs. We need to provide Meta with more signals. There's something else I wanted to mention today, and it's audience segments. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, it's segments that you can define at the account level and then you can use across campaigns. For example, you have existing customers and engaged audiences. The thing is that these are just names, but when we use them, they don't have the same meaning. So for example, existing customers, what do we all do? We upload every single customer up there. Did they buy 10 years ago? Fine, let's go. Did they buy 5 years ago, 3 years ago? Let's include them. However, you are using that segment to exclude them from your campaigns when you target the cold audiences. But let me ask you a question. Aren't they cold already? Like if they bought 10, 5, 3 years ago, they are super cold. So are they existing customers? Yes. But are they active customers? Well, no. Then why are you going to exclude them from a campaign targeting cold audiences? They are super cold. What you can do as well is include lapsed customers, not there, but you can include them as part of your engaged audiences, right? Because again, yes, they know who you are, but it's an engaged audience. They are not engaged as like someone who liked your post yesterday or visited your website. By the way, we can even ask ourselves if that's being engaged, but you can again reutilize, redefine these segments to serve you best. And then last but not least, we need to understand that this is the ethical structure. There's one more thing before I forgot. Like, Meta says that it wants more options. And one of the ways the algorithm is giving us more options, or the system is giving us more options, is by wanting us to use the AI enhancements they suggest for the ads. And we know that they suck. Sorry for my French, but they suck. But Meta wants us to use them. And we know our clients, if we're working for a brand, or if you're working, within a brand, your boss probably doesn't want you to use it, or you don't even want to use it. I don't even want to use the music enhancements and everything that is out of control. However, they claim that there's a lift in. I don't know if it's 10 or 20% conversions. Do I believe them? I don't know. Do I want to use it? No. Since we are not going to use that, we need to create manually more ads. How do we create manually more ads? Well, probably have an agency, probably have a team in house, probably you're using AI. I don't know. But you need to create more ads. Okay, let's do a quick recap. First off, there are 3 systems that Meta has been working on that are super, super smart. It's basically Gem, the super brain, Lattice, the giant library, Andromeda, the personal concierge. Between the 3 of them, it's like an AI super machine that we shouldn't be trying to outsmart when we try to create campaigns. So we need to leverage that and use it to our favor. So in this case, it means using advantage sales campaigns, trying to bid for using target ROAS, using the 7-day click plus 1-day view attribution, leaving audiences broad, and giving the algorithm with more options, providing the algorithm with more options when it comes to ads volume. Instead of launching a campaign with 2 to 5 ads, launch a campaign with 50 ads, 20 ads, depending on your budget, 100 ads, why not? And iterate from there. And last but not least, try to use the segments wisely, the existing customers for the active customers and the engaged audiences for the including the lapsed customers as well. That was all. I hope you liked the first episode that I'm doing on, in this case, Meta. I will do one on email, probably in Google as well. So I hope you like this one. It's different. I know it's me talking aloud. It's stuff for me as well. But again, if you like it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'm putting a lot of work behind these videos. Thank you.